children and mouth breathing. I spoke in one episode about the craniofacial abnormalities and that children who are mouth breathing have a greater tendency towards crooked teeth, narrow facial structure and jaws that are set back. But children who mouth breathe, their sleep is likely to be impacted. If your child is breathing through an open mouth during sleep, and your child is more likely to have a shallow sleep, they're more likely to have sleep interruptions, sleep fragmentation, and they're more likely to be tired during the day. This is not new stuff. This has been discussed since 1909. If you go into Google and you put in Dental Cosmos, you'll see the dental journal that was there at the time. It talks about the relationship between mouth breathing in children and malocclusions. But it also talks about the impact of mouth breathing during sleep and poor sleep, that the teacher is likely to accuse the child of being unattentive in school. If a child's sleep is not good, their concentration is not good. And if concentration is not good, academic performance is going to be impacted. But also, the child is likely to become frustrated. Because if we are requiring a child to sit down for 6 or 8 hours and to absorb information and to concentrate, and if that child doesn't have the capacity because of poor sleep quality, well then frustration is likely to set in. ADD, ADHD are very related to sleep disorder breathing. I'll just say that again. Children with sleep disorder breathing, which very often is related to abnormal or poor development of the airway, and I'll speak about that in a second. A child with poor sleep, if untreated by the age of 8, there's an 80% chance that that child will have a permanent 20% reduction in their mental capacity. I'll give you another quotation. Children who are sleepy, they are 10 times the risk of learning difficulties in school. And I'm not talking about children with obstructive sleep apnea. I'm talking about children who even snore. No child should snore. If a child is snoring, there is a restriction to their breathing during sleep. This is impacting their sleep quality, and this is going to impact their academic performance. You know it yourself as an adult if you're watching this. If you're tired, you're not able to concentrate. And our children are the same. If they're not getting the adequate sleep that they need, they too will have difficulty in concentrating. What's causing poor sleep? Mouth breathing is causing poor sleep. The child may have rhinitis, they may have hay fever, they may have a stuffy nose. The back of the nose may be obstructed with enlarged adenoids. They may have enlarged tonsils. All of these things will contribute to mouth breathing. Or you may have a child who just mouth breathes out of habit, and they may have tongue tie. And as a result of tongue tie, the child wasn't able to get their tongue from the floor of the mouth. Child had difficulty breastfeeding. Child ended up then chomping on the mother as the child tried to feed. But breastfeeding, of course, it's not just about the nutrition for the baby, but it's also about manipulation of the muscles necessary for craniofacial growth. So we need children to have good muscle tone, to be able to maintain nasal breathing. And lack of breastfeeding, and society is playing, unfortunately, a negative role here. And another aspect is the food. If we're eating soft food, we're not really developing the jaws. So children with poorly developed muscles of the face may not have the muscle tone to maintain nasal breathing. So the child may be mouth breathing because of habit, or they may be mouth breathing because of obstruction. But mouth breathing is mouth breathing. No child should have their lips apart, breathing in and out through their mouth for more than 30 seconds at a time. Yeah, I get it. Children are talking all the time. Sometimes they never stop talking. But watch your child when your child is distracted. Maybe if they're watching TV, if they're watching videos. Does the child sit there with their mouth hanging open? If your child is persistently and habitually breathing through an open mouth over a period of time, let's look at changing that breathing pattern. There's a series of breathing exercises which will help open up the front of the nose. The Buteyko method has a tremendous history at teaching young children how to restore nasal breathing, how to remove the obstruction to the front of the nose, how to decongest the nose, how to reduce breathing volume so that the child breathes comfortably through the nose. It's not just enough to say to the child, breathe through the nose, because if the child has a poor breathing pattern, as soon as the child closes their mouth, they may feel that they're not getting enough air. We need, with breathing exercises, change that. I want, when I'm teaching and working with kids, I want to change their breathing patterns, that they can breathe through their nose comfortably. Because if they can breathe through their nose comfortably, they are more likely to do it. So we have a series of exercises and guidelines to help children switch to nose breathing. We also have means of helping to determine where is the obstruction. Is it the front of the nose or is it the back of the nose? So going forward, pay attention to your children. How do they breathe? How are they breathing during rest? How are they breathing during physical exercise? How are they breathing during sleep? And if your child is sleepy, or if your child has difficulty concentrating, or if your child is, attention deficit hyperactivity, please investigate their sleep. By investigating their sleep, you can often get to the root cause of the problems that your child is facing. Children, they need help. They need to restore nasal breathing. And the late Dr. Christian Guilleminault, who would be considered as one of the fathers of sleep medicine, he speaks about the critical importance of restoring nasal breathing, both during wakefulness and during sleep. He also goes on to say that the only valid and complete correction of pediatric sleep disordered breathing is restoration of nasal breathing. And I quote that again, the only valid and complete correction of pediatric sleep disordered breathing means restoration of nasal breathing.